Welcome to Chapter 7 of my softball protocol, Advanced Outfield Concepts. In this chapter, we'll review things that are very specific to our outfielders, such as do-or-die plays, wall balls, and then we'll also review dailies for the outfielders. We have a very special guest with us today, Bri Stubbs. Thank you for being here. Bri was an outfielder in college and is someone that I'm leaning on for this chapter to help me teach the advanced concepts of the outfield better than what I could do. I did play outfield when I was very young, however, a vast majority of my softball career was at shortstop, so some of the nuances of the outfield were not my forte. And so today we have Bri, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Bri Stubbs. I played center field for the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill with Sara for a whole year, and I'm very excited to talk to you guys about outfield. First, let's discuss when you should field a ground ball on your knee versus running through a ball. When you should field a ground ball on your knee is when there's nobody on base or there's no play that's actively being made in the outfield, so we're just protecting the ball. Anytime the ball is on its way to you, you're going to slowly group your legs underneath it, block it up with your throwing hand side down on the ground. So if the ball takes a bad hop, your body is there to protect it. Next, when you should run through a ground ball is when you're actively trying to throw someone out. If there's a chance that you have to throw a player out at any base, you want to have momentum behind your legs so that you can move through the ball and have a chance to get somebody out. You're going to kind of stutter step your legs as you approach, get low, come through it, and you're going into a crow hop and get that runner out at their base. Next, we are going to discuss do or dies. Do or dies is known as a very high risk play where you are risking making a play that could either save the game or lose the game. There are two ways that you can attack the do or die. One is more riskier, and the second is a little bit less risky, but slower method, might not get the runner out. First, we're going to review method one. Method one is the riskier play of the two, but a lot faster and gives you more momentum behind your ball. You will have your glove side outside of your glove foot, stay very low, scoop through the ball, and go straight into a crow hop. As you can see, you're getting it straight into your hand and straight into throwing motion as quickly as possible, but you have no protection because you're outside of your body. So if you miss the ball, the runners are advancing and you're the last line of defense in the outfield. Method two is a little bit slower, but it is more protective. So if you decide to go this route, you do have to know that it will take a little bit longer if you are trying to get runners out on base. You'll have your glove side down with your glove side foot back. You're protecting the ball still with your body, but as you field the ground ball, you have to take a gather step with your glove foot and then go into your crow hop. So as you can see, there's one extra step in method two that does slow it down a little bit, but it is more protective in case the ball is to take a bad hop. Your body is there to protect the ball.
We're going to pause because now I have a question for Bri. So far we've been learning all of the footwork, whether you're infield or outfield, such that you're fielding the ball off your glove side foot. So infielders, it's always inside, and outfielders, I was always taught it's outside your glove foot. So I have a question for Bri regarding the one where you're kind of fielding in front of your throwing side foot now, taking the extra step, popping and throwing. For me as an infielder, this certainly doesn't compute because I was always wanting to be efficient with my time as possible, so that extra step was a lot of time wasted and another step that we gave to the runner. So I understand things are different in the outfield. So my question is, instead of fielding the ball and protecting the bad hop this way with our throwing side foot up, why would I not instead field off my glove side foot and I'm still protecting the ball this way because my body's behind the ball, versus when I catch it outside? And she said that was the more risky play because our body wasn't behind it. So why is this not as advantageous in the outfield?
My answer to this question is a little complex, but the reason being, after a few practice runs and just kind of getting a feel for the two different methods of having it inside your glove foot with your glove foot in front versus having your throwing hand side foot up front to protect more, is just the fact that your momentum into your crow hop is so crucial in the outfield. And when you have your glove side foot up with your glove hand, your body's space and awareness is unable to extend forward into momentum strong enough. And you'd almost rather have the prep step in this protective sense because you still build that momentum into your throw that'll speed up with the runner's steps. Next, let's review common mistakes that come with do or dies. A lot of the times athletes will approach do or dies with a very fast approach because they want to get to the ball very quickly. That's a very common misconception with do or dies because you really do want to have your feet underneath you so you can watch the ball in. Since it's such a risky play, you have to see it get into your glove, and then you could build that momentum through your crow hop with the do or die. But a lot of athletes will approach it with really long strides and come in way too quickly, and then they lose sight of the ball. You have to come into the ball with these stutter steps. Sara may have referred to these as choppy steps. You want to stutter into your legs so you're staying low, you can see the ball come in, and as the ball approaches, that's when that glove foot lands and you're scooping through with that glove to go straight into that crow hop. Next, we're going to discuss when you should dive for balls versus when you should stay on your feet. Outfield is the last line of defense, so it's very important we do dive in scenarios where it's needed and also protect the ball and protect our team in scenarios where it's too risky to dive. First, we're going to go from corner outfielders. Corner outfielders will be the right fielder and the left fielder. Biggest piece for those two people will be the foul line. You do want to make sure if a ball is on the foul line and you're thinking about diving, the angle and the height of the ball is very important. If the ball is on a line, on a very hard line drive down the line, unless you are 100% certain you are diving and catching that ball and don't have to fully extend, that is the only time that I would catch that ball. One angle also to be aware of in the corners of right and left field is if it's down the line and it's at a high angle that is just going to drop down, even if it's not as easy of a play that you think, you might as well risk it and go for it, because if you catch it, that's going to be an amazing play. If not, it's just going to fall and stay right with you because there's no angle behind it for it to go back towards the fence, and all you have to do is get up and get it into the infield as quickly as possible. Last player in the outfield to talk about when to dive versus when not to dive is center field. Center field does have more free reign to dive most of the time whenever they want because they do have both defensive corners that'll be crashing towards them to back them up quickly in case they miss it. The one time that you do want to think about it a little bit more is if it's on a line straight at the center fielder and you have to run forward at it. If that play is going to happen, you want to be aware of how quickly the ball is coming at you, because sometimes you don't want to dive at these and just protect them with your body, because that ball, if it gets to the fence and you miss it, your corner outfielders have a lot longer of a way to run and might not get to the ball fast enough to throw anybody out. Next, we're going to discuss how to approach fly balls when you're at the fence. Fences are very different in softball, so this is a little bit different depending on where you're playing at, but your approach will always be the same. Depending on your glove side versus your throwing side, your approach will be different in both directions. So as you're drop stepping, if you're going towards your throwing side, it's very helpful because you have your hand. You can use your hand to try and find the fence while you're looking for the ball. That is your main line of defense there. And as you're going on your glove side towards the fence approach, it is a little bit more difficult because you're wanting to obviously be prepared to catch, but you have to find the fence more with your elbow and your forearm. And once you feel that fence, that's when you can start to turn your body to get under it and then use that throwing hand side to protect the fence. Then you could approach the ball and come through it. The last piece of finding the fence and fly balls at the fence is the opportunity to rob a home run. What a fun opportunity we have there. Once you're doing that, you're going to use the same approach, whether it's throwing hand side or glove side. You're going to want to find the fence first with that hand that you have open. So you're going to grab on if it's on your throwing hand side, and then you're going to jump up. If it's on your glove side, same thing. You're going to want to find it kind of quick with that elbow. And if you have the time to get underneath the ball by flipping and then going back to your throwing hand side on the fence, perfect. If not, sometimes it's coming up on you quickly. Get that elbow from out underneath the fence and get up over the fence with that glove. A very big tip when it comes to balls at the fence is your off outfielders, which means any player in the outfield that isn't the one catching the ball. Communication is key. So if you can talk to them as they're approaching the fence, and once they're getting close, you're screaming, fence, fence, fence. That is extremely helpful for the outfielder to know with that hand that they're going to get close without just ramming their body into the fence and then losing sight of the ball. Next, we're going to be discussing balls at the wall that are on the ground or ground balls or line drives that hit off the fence. There's two approaches that are going to be really important here so that we can make sure we get to the ball as quickly as possible, but also make it as efficient as possible to get into our cutoff as quickly as we can. Because the longer it's in the outfield, the faster the runners are running around the bases. So we need to get it in as quickly as possible. Balls on your throwing hand side are good because you can drop step and get to the ball as quickly as possible. And you're going to pick up, sit into that back leg, and go straight into your throw. The more steps you take out here to get the ball in is the more steps that the runners are running. One important piece, since we're wanting to be very quick here, when you see the ball into the ground and you're loading into that back leg, your grip into the ground can be very helpful to make sure you have a solid grip in your hands. You're gonna pick it up and push the ball into the ground to make sure it's solid into your hand so then you could go straight into your throw. The second approach for balls at the fence on the ground is glove side. When you're going glove side, you wanna make sure you get around the ball so that you are approaching it with that throwing hand available and as quickly as possible. So you'll drop step with that glove foot, get around the ball, and do the same approach where you get into that back leg, dig that ball into the ground, and go straight into your throw to your cutoff. The last thing that might happen at a ball at the fence is the ball might get stuck right at the wall. When the ball gets stuck at the wall, it's very hard to get into that back leg and get momentum into your throw. So you do need to use that fence, lean into it, pick up that ball, shuffle, throw. So you can get that momentum behind the ball and you're not winding up into the fence and you have nowhere to go.
We're gonna pause again because I have another question for Bri about fielding this ball that's kind of stuck under the fence. So what Bri was saying is we approach this ball and we don't have room since it's up against the fence, and so our foot will be to rock into our back leg and then throw like she was explaining previously. So instead she recommended fielding this ball and shuffling and then throwing. So my question is, we all know about the pop step in our footwork that I've been teaching. Why not do an exaggerated pop step or the crow hop for the outfielders by fielding this ball and then throwing so that I can get more velocity on my throw and get the ball in quicker?
That's a great question, but my answer to that is right now our priority in the outfield is getting it in as quickly as possible. And some might argue that that might be by getting more momentum behind your throw so your throw is faster, but our footwork going into this throw is a lot faster right now because our shortstop or second baseman or cutoff in this scenario will be close to us, and we might have a double cut that will be there for us to make this a lot faster. So our priority is getting it in as quickly as possible so that the infield can figure out where the ball needs to go next. Next segment we're going to discuss is cuts and relays. Cuts and relays involves almost the entire field into the play, so we're going to discuss first the outfield perspective. In cuts and relays, a lot of the times these plays are going to be happening with runners on base that are moving around, and outfield needs to get the ball into our cutoff as quickly as possible so our catcher and infield can make a decision on where the ball needs to go to get a runner out on base. From an outfielder's perspective, we need to get the ball in as quickly as possible. Don't second guess it. Don't worry about too much of the techniques. Get the ball, get it into your cutoff as quickly as possible. That's the biggest piece of advice for me.
So I completely agree with Bri that the longer the ball stays in the outfield, the more time we're giving the runners to run around the bases, and we don't want them to advance, so we want to get the ball in as quick as possible. However, I think there's something that the outfielders can do to help your relay get the ball then to the play faster, and that's where you throw the ball. So yes, it's important to be fast, but I think another level to that is to be precise with your throw. So we'll review relays in a video later, but normally when your middle infielder is out there for a relay, they're going to be positioned sideways so that their footwork takes them straight through to their next throw and to get the ball to the play. So if I'm an outfielder, I really want to think about making a good throw to their chest because I know they're transferring and throwing to get the ball to the next play as quick as possible. I think mistakes are made when the ball ends up being thrown back here over their shoulder, and so now your middle infielder's footwork is going to have to be slower because they have to change direction instead of being able to just follow the outfielder's ball's path through to their target because they will be in line with where that ball ultimately needs to end up. So that's just another layer to think about and is maybe another perspective from someone who was receiving these relays in the field.
Going off of Sarah's point and where to throw a ball to the cutoff is very important when you're trying to throw someone out at a base. If I'm trying to throw somebody out at home plate, my cutoff will be in the middle of me and home, and I want to make sure I'm hitting them in the chest to head area in case there's a play that needs to be rerouted to a new base. We want to make sure that it can be cut off by the cutoff player and thrown to a new base. Big tip when it comes to outfield and throwing people out, You never want to throw the ball too high or too low. If you throw the ball too high, you're losing the play for your defense. And I know we want to act all strong and big in the outfield, but keeping the ball at chest level is very, very important to make sure if we don't have the play out at home, our shortstop or second baseman can cut that ball off and throw it off to the new base to get someone else out. Second, when it comes to throws, just as much as we don't want to throw the ball too high, we also don't want to throw a short hop at any base. If we throw a short hop at any base, it gives the catcher or any base member no time to read the ball, and it could take a bad hop and throw away from that fielder. If we're going to throw the ball short, we want to make sure it's on a long hop so the fielder has a long time to get their eyes behind the ball to receive it and see it into a tag.
Next, let's give an infielder's perspective on what I'm looking for from my outfielders when they're throwing a ball directly to the base where we're going to make a tag play. Right now, I'm standing at second base, so this would be an example of my center fielder throwing to me at second base, and we're trying to get the runner out that's coming from first. This is also applicable if you outfielders are throwing to third base or even home plate. The principles here are going to be the same. The best throw that an outfielder can give me for when I need to make a tag play is going to be one that's going to be right where I'm tagging. So for me, ideally, I love to have a ball that's honestly about chest high when I'm bent down, so maybe normally about waist high, that's leading me right into my tag. So whether I'm fielding it from the outfield or if I would be fielding even from home plate from a catcher, but this is how a catcher would field a ball from the outfield, it's leading me right into the tag. That is the absolute best throw that you can make, is a ball that's in the air and perfect. However, this is a very high bar for our outfielders because that's a very, very precise, difficult throw to make, especially from all the way in the outfield. So if you can make this throw, this is your number one choice because the ball's not hitting the ground, so it's not ever going to be slowing down. However, this is not really realistic for all throws in the outfield, so let's review our second best choice that I prefer to receive as a middle infielder, and that's the long hop. So what I mean by a long hop is a ball that's hopping about 10 feet away from me where I'm going to be making this catch. The reason a long hop is second is because when the ball is hitting the ground, it is slowing down, and so this is less ideal than a throw out of the air. However, a long hop is a really great second option because I have time to react. When this ball is bouncing about 10 feet away from me, I have time to react, and this ball is also then coming up right to where I want to catch it, about waist high, so that I can go right into my tag from the outfield. So a long hop should be your second option, or if you cannot make the throw in the air, you need to be aware of your arm strength and use the long hop as your first option. The only thing I see sometimes when outfielders are throwing me the ball for a long hop is if they don't have really good 12-6 spin, the ball is going to change direction a little bit when it hits the ground, depending on the kind of spin. So you need to experiment with the long hop and figure out where you need to hit your target so that the ball stays on line and hits your partner in the chest off the long hop. And the final option that I get from outfielders on these throws is going to be a short hop. A short hop, as opposed to a long hop, is one that's bouncing about 5 feet to 0 feet in front of me and is a very difficult catch to make because I don't have very much time to react to this ball. The second problem with the short hop is in order to field this, I need to come up with the hop, which is contradictory to me then having to come down on the tag. So this is a very difficult catch to make, but also a very, very difficult play to make, putting together the catch and the tag. So these are very minute details for you outfielders when you're throwing the ball, but are really important to think about how you can best set up the next player to go make that play. One very common mistake I see outfielders make whenever they're throwing me a ball and I need to make a play at a base is they try and throw the ball so hard that they lose some precision on their throw or some accuracy. And so what this ends up looking like is the throw is either off target, whether that be behind me and away from the place of where I need to make the tag, or more often than not, the throw is high. The problem with the high throw up here is it takes me more time to get down to make the tag than if the throw was about waist high, leading me right into the place of the tag. So outfielders, you have a lot of opportunity to make the play on your own, but then also give your next player no other choice but to be perfect when they make the catch and the tag, when you can be very accurate with your throw.
The last two tips that I want to give on the outfield are very important because in the outfield there are times that you can think that you're not involved in plays. That's not the case. The outfield will always be important. Even if it's a ground ball hit to the infield, there's always a spot that you could be at on the field to make sure we're backing up plays, and somehow if the ball gets thrown away, we're already there and we can help our infield out in case they need us. In right field, you can always be behind first. Center field, you can always be somewhere floating between second on both angles depending on where the runners are. And in left field, you can always be coming in to back up either third or second base as well in case there's a play that gets dismantled. Big piece to know when you are backing up plays, don't ever get too close or too far away from that fielder. If you're too close and that ball gets away from the fielder and you, that will be really bad because then you're also backtracking and then the runner's still running on base. If you're too far away, it will take you longer to get to the ball. So find that happy medium in between where you are and where the fielder is so that we can make sure we're backing up appropriately. Last thing that's very important in the outfield is communication. Communication will make or break a team, in my opinion. So talking as often as possible with effective communication is so important. Your center fielder will be your leader in the outfield. They will always take precedent over any outfielder and infielder if they're calling the ball. So be loud, be proud. If you're calling it, make it known. Off outfielders, you're also just as important. If you have a better read on a ball and you know you're sitting under it over an outfielder, make sure you communicate so that they know you're there, they can get out of the way and back up your play. The biggest piece I will harp on always will be communication, so make sure you're always talking, not just to your outfielders, but also your infielders. Know what the outs are, know where the play is at, and know what we're doing every play, every pitch, always.
Thank you for watching Chapter 7 of my softball protocol, our advanced outfield concepts, and a very big thank you to Bri Stubbs, our outfield expert, for helping us today and sharing her knowledge with us. As always, let me know what questions I can answer for you, and stay tuned for Chapter 8, where I'll review advanced glove work.